There was a female classmate named Xiao XNXIN in the class. She was notorious for her love of taking selfies. She took selfies in the laboratory, causing a leak of experimental data. The hard work of the entire team over 3 years was ruined, wasting over 100 million yuan in research funds. I planned to report the incident to my advisor, but my childhood friend and younger brother stopped me. If you go, what will happen to XIN-XIN.I in the future? If she fails to graduate, she'll have no future. Later, the data leak incident was exposed online. I became the scapegoat. Seniors who had worked hard for years were unable to graduate, missed out on offers they had already secured, and wished me dead. I wanted to prove myself, but my childhood friend and younger brother jumped out and hit me into the opposite direction, pinning me firmly to the pillar of shame. It is always someone to solve yen family difficulties. You admit also won't have much impact for your future. In the end, I stopped by school network violence, also being pushed down from the upstairs, disguised as a suicide. Looked again. I returned the data revealed that the day 1. In order to celebrate this experiment to have breakthrough, I decided to take a commemoration of this valuable moment. This is a cute Xiao XNXN that intentionally do mouth. Shomo looks cute. After taking the photo, she even showed it to the boys in the lab. Acting coquettishly and Sundra, she said, "Isn't it super cute?" As the group's favorite, she naturally received a chorus of praise. Her childhood friend, Lu Ting, chuckled softly, his eyes and brows filled with gentleness, and commented carefully, "It is very cute with big eyes, long eyelashes, and 2 adorable little dimples. Very pretty." Her younger brother Shinji and also couldn't wait to praise her. Xiao XNXIN was already very beautiful to begin with. And the photo doesn't even capture a tenth of your real charm. Xiao XNXIN's lips curved into a smile, her eyes brimming with pride and satisfaction, her vanity greatly appeased. Then she brought the phone close to me again, showing off. "Senior Z, what do you think? Is it good looking? I'm planning Tio post it on my social media." I said coldly, "Delete it. No photos are allowed in the lab, and posting on social media is even more unacceptable." Xiao XNXIN immediately pouted, speaking with a grievance. "Senior Z, I rarely take such a good selfie. I absolutely won't delete it. The professor isn't here. I'll just take the photo secretly and block the professor from seeing it. As long as you don't tell on me. No one will know. Please." My dear senior, acting cute and playing the victim were her specialties. Lu Ting frowned, his expression displeased as he began to lecture that it's just a photo. "Z, you're making too much of it. Girls should support each other. Acting this way is rather petty. We're all girls. Look at Xiao XIN. She has such a good personality and is so cheerful. You spend every day either in the lab or the library, showing no trace of what a girl should be like. I think you need to learn more from Xiao XIN about how to be a proper girl." He spoke with righteous indignation and solemn gravity. If one didn't know better, they might have thought he was Xiao XNXN's boyfriend. 2. A bond of friendship built over 20 years of growing up together couldn't withstand the 2 years since Xiao XNXIN appeared. How ironic. In my past life, I truly loved and trusted him, so he knew all my passwords and easily framed me. Not only did he make me take the blame and be nailed to the pillar of shame, but he also personally pushed me off a tall building, causing me to fall to my death. He used to say these things countless times to manipulate me, and back then, in the name of love, I willingly confined myself for him, but now I find him utterly disgusting and repulsive. Oh, really? learning from her how to violate lab regulations and leak our hard-earned research results. Lu Ting, you're right. I really am too petty and lack any semblance of a proper girl, unworthy of someone as outstanding as you. So, from now on, we're breaking up. My words left Lu Ting stunned on the spot. Previously, I had always been obedient to him and never dared to contradict him in public. Such a huge contrast. Not to mention him. Even the classmates who know about our relationship were completely stunned. My younger brother was the first to react, frowning and accusing me. Sis, how can you talk like that? Brother Ting just said a couple of things to you, and you're already threatening to break up. Isn't that just being unreasonable? Shin Shin just took a selfie. How is that leaking research results? Sis, are you jealous because Shin Shin is prettier and more popular than you, and it's making you uncomfortable? You've always been domineering since you were little, never allowing anyone to defy you even a bit. It's only because Brother Yen has a good temper that he's put up with you for so long. His words were mocking, his eyes filled with disdain and contempt. This is the younger brother I've loved and cared for since childhood, the closest family member who once toddled after me babbling and vowed to protect me for life when he grew up. Yet, in the end, you became the very one who killed me with your own hands. What supreme irony! Lu Ting finally snapped back to reality and said angrily, Shinzi, it's all my fault for being too good to you, usually, which made you become so unreasonable. I can pretend I never heard what you just said, but you must apologize to me and Shin Shin. She's such a pure and lovely girl, and you slandered her for no reason at all. Anyone who doesn't know the truth would think she did something wrong. Apologize now, and let's end this matter here. In my past life, they did exactly this, washing their hands of all responsibility and pushing it all onto me. My kindness and trust toward them became the knives they stabbed into my back. Now that I've been reborn, I won't give them any more chances. They must die. Only then can the wrong soul from my previous life find peace. 3. The professor was drawn over by the commotion in the lab. Xiao Xian Chin immediately began to complain with a pitiful look. Professor, Senior Z, taking advantage of being a veteran in the lab, scolds us arbitrarily. I usually endure it, but this time she even accused me of leaking lab data. This accusation is too serious. I really can't bear it. There have been many cases of bullying in the lab where seniors bully newcomers, and there was even a student who couldn't take it and committed suicide by jumping off a building. So nowadays, schools are managed very strictly. She's quite clever. She knows how to pin the blame on me. The professor frowned slightly, his expression not looking too good as he said, what's going on with Z? I recounted everything that had just happened in complete detail. My younger brother hurriedly explained, Professor, don't listen to my sister's nonsense. Our experiment finally succeeded today. Xian Chin just wanted to take a selfie to celebrate, but my sister insisted that Xian Chin leaked confidential information. We can all vouch for Xian Chin. She's absolutely innocent. Lu Ting, standing nearby, chimed in to support him. Yes, Professor, Xian Chin I asked such a simple and innocent girl. How could she possibly do something like that? Z is just making a mountain out of a molehill. Now Xian Chin has been pushed to this state by her. I think the one who's in the wrong should be her. Each of them spoke with righteous indignation. Their words sounding absolutely convincing. Anyone unaware of the situation would think I was deliberately bullying Xiao Xian Chin. It's just a pity that in this life, I'm no longer a pushover. I directly snatched the phone Xiao Xian Chin had hidden in her lab coat. The lock screen wallpaper was the selfie she had just taken. The professor noticed the data in the corner with just one glance, and his face instantly changed, dramatically. Xiao xin chin. Delete that photo immediately. If you dare leak it, I will pursue legal action against you. Write a 10.000 word self-criticism for me. And you, too, copy the lab rules 100 times. If you violate them again, next time, get out of the lab immediately instantly. All three of them were dumbfounded. My younger brother said with a defiant look, Professor, why it's just a selfie? Not a big deal. Is it really necessary to be so strict? The professor's face turned pale with anger as he roared. Are you blind to the experimental data behind me? If he hadn't been so careful, not only would you be writing self-criticisms, but you'd all be going to jail. Leaking laboratory secrets carries legal liability. Moreover, this experiment is a key research project for the universities and is classified with a minimum confidentiality period of 10 years. For the professor got angry, and it only then did the three of them calm down. But their faces were filled with resentment, clearly showing their unwillingness to accept it. So, as soon as the professor left, they immediately surrounded me and began to condemn and blame me. Senior sister Z. Did you notice the experimental data on my background image long ago? Why didn't you tell us? We are all fellow students. Why did you have to be so ruthless? Are you happy now that we are being punished? My younger brother also said angrily, Sister, you're so petty. You're really good at this female rivalry stuff. Lu Ting also suppressed his anger and said, Z.E. Right now, I don't want to discuss WHO. IS right and who is wrong in this matter. You made a mistake. And Shen will be exhausted writing a 10.000 word self-criticism. You should go and plead with the professor to exempt Shen from the self-criticism. I said, sarcastically, have a mental illness, go to the hospital and see a doctor yourself. How dare you shift the blame onto me when you made the mistake? You really have no shame and are invincible in the world. Immediately, the faces of the three of them turned extremely ugly. It seemed that they realize that I was no longer the idiot who would unconditionally clean up their messes. Only the younger brother, who was still stupidly shouting, remained beside them. Sis, why are you speaking so rudely now? You really have no manners. You're not even half as good as Shin. I think you're deliberately trying to get us punished. Don't forget I am your own brother. Is this how you act as a sister? If Mom and Dad find it out, let's see how you explain yourself. To them. Hearing this, I could no longer contain my anger. I stepped forward and slapped him hard. So, you remember I'm your brother. Not only do you refuse to stand up for me, but you actually side with outsiders to blame me. All these years, I was always afraid of ruining you in any way. And this is how you repay me. My brother held his swollen cheek, stunned for a moment before snapping out of it. His expression immediately turned fierce, and he shouted angrily, Shinzi, how dare you hit me? Even Mom and Dad have never hit me. Who do you think you are? I'll remember this slap today, and I'll pay you back double in the future. After saying that, he stormed out in a rage. Chao Shin gave me a smug look before trotting off to catch up with him. Lu Yen sneered coldly at me and followed them out. Watching their retreating figures, I curled my lips into a faint smile. In the past, I doted on my younger brother and basically gave in to his every whim. So, they thought I'd be heartbroken, sad, and despairing now, huh? What a joke. Now, I just wish my brother were dead. And of course, those point to as well. None of them should expect to get off easy. 5. The experiment that was finally successful in my previous life was completely ruined. because Chao Shin Shin leaked the dot secrets. Now, I've finally protected it when the senior lab mates who worked with me on the experiment found out about this. They all rushed over to express their gratitude, showering me with all kinds of snacks. I don't blame them for their humiliation, scolding, and curses against me after being deceived in my past life. Because if I were in their shoes, I would have done the same. They had worked hard, 4.2 years, waiting for the results to get their graduation certificate and start out working only to end up with nothing. Anyone would be angry. In order to prevent the three of them from causing any more trouble, I took the initiative to approach the professor and ask them to stop participating in the final stages of the subsequent experiment. The professor chuckled softly. His eyes filled with approval. You finally figured it out. At the beginning, I didn't think highly of the 0.3 of them, but since you brought it up, I made an exception and let them join the experimental group. This incident should serve as a wake-up call for you. Don't be so emotional in the future. My nose tingled with the urge to see or why I end my past life. When no one believed me, he was the only one who went out of his way to speak up for me. As a titan of academia, he was always respected and admired wherever he went. Yet, for my sake, he bent his back. I said solemnly, Professor, please rest assured, I won't let my emotions cloud my judgment anymore. The professor nodded in satisfaction. It's good that you've come to your senses. Half an hour later, Xiao Xingxing and the other two had already received notice that they were to stop participating in the experiment. This also meant they would not be credited as authors on the experiment, would not receive any bonus points, and their resumes would not list their participation in this experiment. So, they had wasted 2 years in the laboratory for nothing. However, since their abilities were so poor and they had never actually conducted any experiments themselves, they weren't really losing out. But clearly, they didn't see it that way. My younger brother, who had fallen out with me that morning, now appeared before me again, angrily accusing me, Sister, why did you kick us out of the lab? My situation is one thing, but you know how important this spot is for Xingxing. She's a girl from a rural area who made it through the college entrance exam. How much hardship has she endured to get to this point? How dare you do this? I crossed my arms and sneered, because I am the initiator and leader of this project, and you three only got into the lab thanks to me. Yet, you haven't done any work. So, why should I give you the spots? My brother's veins bulged on his forehead instantly and his hands clenched tightly into fists. Shinzi, do you really have to be ruthless? What happened in the lab this morning was your fault to begin with. We didn't complain even though we got punished. Even if we got into the lab because of you, we still put in effort. So, what gives you the right to remove our names? If you just go tell the professor now to let us stay in the lab, I'll still acknowledge you as my sister, and will consider this morning's matter settled. I let out a scornful laugh, my tone full of mockery and disgust. Do you think I care about having a brother like you? Stupid and brainless. It's embarrassing to even be associated with you. Thanks for not acknowledging me as your sister. Let's just be strangers from now on. My brother trembled with rage all over, his expression turning ferocious. Shinzi, I only call you sister because I'm giving you face. Do you really think you're that impressive? Don't forget I am the only son of the Shin family. Everything in the Shin family will be mine in the future. Just you wait. I'll make sure you pay a painful price for what you said today. How amusing impotent rage truly is. I curled my lips into a cold smile, a sharp glint flashing in my eyes. Oh, really? Then I'll be waiting for that day. 6. As soon as my brother left, I received a call from Lu Ting's mother fawning and subservient. Z. I heard you had a disagreement with shouting. He knows he was wrong, but he's too proud to admit it. Let me apologize to you on his behalf. You two grew up together like childhood sweethearts. If there's any misunderstanding, just talk it out directly. Please don't act on impulse and say things like breaking up. It would really hurt your feelings. As long as it makes you feel better. It doesn't matter if shouting is removed from the experiment. Your happiness is what matters most. I've always treated you like my own daughter, and I won't let you suffer any grievance. The Lu group only achieved its current scale by relying on Y parents' company. That's why every time Lu Yen and I argue, his mother always calls to apologize. In the past, I would always take the hint and step down gracefully. After all, she is elder, so I had to be polite, but that was based on my lingering feelings for him. Now, not only do I not love him but I also want him to die. So I said slowly, Auntie, Lu Ting is now with a girl named Xiao Xan Chung from our lab, and their relationship is quite good. He was kicked out of the lab because Xiao Xan Chung leaked experimental secrets. Yet he kept defending her, which infuriated the professor. There was a long silence on the other end of the line before Lu's mother's voice came through, suppressed with anger. Z. Rest assured, I will definitely give you an explanation regarding this matter. I curled my lips into a cold sneer. It's fine. Auntie, our fate has run its course. My experiments will keep me very busy from now on. So please don't call me anymore. After saying that, I hung up the phone immediately and then blocked the number. I could easily imagine how Lu Ting would be punished by the family rules later on. His skin torn open, unable to get out of bed for at least half a month. I remember once when he almost had his leg broken by his father for making a mistake. If I hadn't pleaded for him, he would have truly been crippled this time. I really want to see if his destiny will return to the right track without me. 7. When I got home in the evening, I saw my younger brother complaining to Mom and Dad. My younger brother sneered, You still have the nerve to come back. I thought you didn't know you were a member of the Shin family. I put down my bag and replied with a half smile, The one who should be ashamed to come back is you. You almost went to jail for leaking laboratory secrets. People would laugh at Mom and Dad for the rest of their lives. Where would you put your face then at that moment? He jumped up from the sofa. He shouted angrily don't talk nonsense. You're just making it all up. Mom ignored him and looked at me with a tense expression. What exactly is going on? Hurry and tell us. As my younger brother was about to interrupt, Dad slapped him on the head and he immediately shut his mouth. I recounted everything that had happened in the laboratory from start to finish. This included my breakup with Lu Yen and the matter of his mother calling me Mom. Patted her chest in relief and sighed with relief. You did the right thing. You prevented further losses and kept your brother from becoming an accomplice and going to jail. That BOY.LU. Yen is getting worse by the day. It's for the best that you broke up with him. Otherwise, you'd only get dragged into more trouble later. My younger brother jumped up in anger and shouted, Mom, don't listen to her nonsense. She's just jealous that XNXAN is beautiful and that everyone likes her so. She's deliberately targeting and slandering her XNZ. You vicious woman. Before he could finish speaking, Dad's hand slapped him across the face. This time the force was particularly strong. His brother's face immediately swelled up, and blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Dad said angrily, Who taught you to speak to your sister like that? If it weren't for your sister, your life would have been ruined. I disagreed back when you insisted on bringing those two into the lab. Getting you in alone cost your sister a lot of effort, and you wanted to bring those two dead weights along. Now that you've been kicked out, it's for the best. We won't have to worry about you causing trouble for your sister anymore. If I ever hear you siding with outsiders and saying a single bad word about your sister again, I'll break your legs. This was the first time Dad had ever been this furious, because this is a matter of principle. They were researchers before and even though they later went into business, the spirit of scientific inquiry has always remained in their bones. My younger brother clenched his fists tightly, barely containing his anger as he said, "Mom, Dad, I am your biological son. She will get married someday. She's an outsider. Good." This time it was Mom who slapped at him. Her face was flushed with anger. Who told you a daughter is an outsider, even if she gets married, has children or passes away someday? She will always be our daughter. Don't think that. Jess, because you're the son, will give everything to you in the future, will give it to whoever is capable. These resolute words left no room for doubt. There are many parents around who favor sons over daughters, but my parents are not like that. They say men and women are equal. My younger brother shot me a venomous glare, then turned and walked away. I stared at his retreating figure, curling my lips into a cold sneer. With a fool like him, he still thinks he can compete with me. If it weren't for my trust in the past life, how could I have fallen into their hands I end this life? Go to hell. 8. The experiment was a complete success. Its release caused a huge sensation in the scientific community. The school held a press conference for me, and the leading scholars in this field all came. I stood in the very center of the stage, eloquently discussing the experimental data and cases, receiving admiring and appreciative glances from everyone under the spotlight. I was not the least bit nervous. The glory that rightfully belonged to me had finally arrived. Only after the press conference ended did my anxious heart finally settle. This scientific achievement belonged to everyone, and no one could snatch it away anymore. Just as I was wondering why Cha Shinhai hadn't come to cause trouble, it turned out that she was stopped outside the venue after I left. The senior students from the lab simply wouldn't let her in. When she saw me, a flash of resentment passed through her eyes, but it quickly turned back into flattery and grievance. Senior sister, they originally wanted to go in and congratulate you, but they stopped me and wouldn't let me enter. I don't blame them, because I almost leaked the lab data, causing our 2 years of hard work come to nothing. Fortunately, you'd have discovered it in time. Otherwise, I would never be able to atone for my sins even in death. I come from a rural area and no one has ever properly taught me, which is why I made such a basic mistake. I've been reflecting on myself these past few days. I promise I won't make this kind of mistake again. From now on, I'll obediently follow your instructions. Whatever you ask me to do, I'll do it. Senior Sister Z, please add my name to the experiment. It's a simple matter for you, but it determines whether I can graduate. Find a good job in the future, and support my parents in their 60s. Is this an attempt at moral blackmail? But sorry, I lost my morals long ago. I let out a scoff and said slowly, everyone must pay for their own actions. Learn from your mistakes, and just be more careful in the future. The list has already been submitted and cannot be changed. If you want authorship, you'll need to perform well in the next experiment. Her expression darkened, and she retorted indignantly, Senior Sister Z, are you deliberately taking revenge on me? Because I'm close to Senior Brother Lu Ting. I curled my lips into a cold sneer. So, are you knowingly becoming the other woman? She was left speechless to be why my retort. her face a mix of green dot and white. Shenzi, have you had enough? Kicking us out of the lab wasn't enough. Now you're bullying Xiao Extension. At that moment, Lu Yen emerged from the dot lab. Seeing the scene, he immediately accused in anger. I was blind to have ever fallen for a woman as vicious and venomous as you. I looked at the dot bruised and purplish whip marks on his arm and let out a mocking laugh. Seems Uncle Lu didn't beat you hard enough. What do you think would happen if I made another call? Would you get beaten to death? Lu Ting, you need to get one thing straight. It was only because I took a liking to you that you became the heir in the first place, but now I'm dumping you. And you haven't exceptionally talented and intelligent older brother, so from now on, the position of heir has nothing to do with you anymore. You won't even be qualified to attend the same banquets as me in the future. After saying that, she even shot Xia Xinchuan a provocative smile that I've been wanting to dump him for a while now, but I could never find a good enough reason. Thank you so much for taking out the trash. With that, she turned and walked away, ignoring Lu Ting's furious, impotent rage behind her nine. Xia Xinchuan was a very shrewd and calculating person. She understood the implication in my words and started contacting my younger brother frequently before. She looked down on my younger brother for being too young and somewhat immature, but now he was her best option, since he is the only boy in our family and is therefore the one destined to inherit the company. Meanwhile, her frustrated younger brother at home, after being sweet-talked by her gentle and affectionate words, felt like he was falling in love and began lavishing money to express his affection. Flowers gifts, limited edition bags. No vain and materialistic woman could resist such a smooth and seamless combination of moves. And she soon fell head over heels for the younger brother. The two became inseparable, leaving traces of their love in all sorts of places. Hotels, cars, the great outdoors. The more extravagant, the better. The photos the private investigator gave me were practically piling up on my desk. It was truly thrilling. Of course, Xia Xinchuan was handsomely rewarded as well, because she convinced the younger brother to invest heavily in the lab for her launching a nanomolecular research project, clearly trying to compete with me and prove she was better. But with just a tiny bit of progress, they got so cocky that they deliberately blocked me in the cafeteria to show off. Senior Sister Z, I thought the nanotechnology experiment would be so difficult, but I actually achieved results in just half a month of research. There are only 2 months left until graduation. My experiment will definitely succeed by then. You took 2.5 years. Well, I only need 2.1/2 months to succeed. That's the difference between a genius and an ordinary person. I looked at her as if she were an idiot and sneered, XNX. As expected, after 2.5 years in the lab, your only skill that has improved is taking selfies. You still can't do anything else. My brother immediately stepped in front of her and retorted at me, Stop being so arrogant and smug. Xian has been smart and a genius since childhood. Things you can't handle, she can do in minutes. You're just jealous of her so. You're deliberately trying to dampen her spirits. You're not only malicious, but also petty. No wonder Brother Yin doesn't want you. I curled my lips into a cold smile. Yeah, not only do I not want that piece of trash, I don't want you either, you useless waste. The graduation ceremony is only 2 months away. I'll be giving a speech as the outstanding student representative, and I hope to actually see your research results by then. That's what I said, but they really disgusted me. If you don't fight back, it's impolite, so I'll discuss them right back. I called mom directly and told her that my younger brother was dating XNXN and had invested tens of millions of yuan in her for her experiments. My younger brother had a credit card with a monthly limit of 2 million yuan that he could swipe freely. He didn't actually have tens of millions, but he had used our parents' names to invest in XN in the past. When the lab's funding was insufficient, our parents would invest. So, the finance department assumed it was our siblings' experiment and transferred the money without much thought. 10. As soon as I parked the CARI in the garage, I heard my younger brother's agonized cries and a pleas for mercy. From a distance, I could see Dad striking my brother with a ruler. The high-end white shirt was stained a bright crimson. My brother knelt on the ground with snot, tears and blood all mixed together, looking both pitiful and disgusting. Dad roared angrily, "You beast! How dare you embezzle public funds in our name? You've really grown bold and capable. If IT were for legitimate experimental research, we might have accepted it, but IT was for Xiao Xingchen, who nearly leaked the lab secrets. You're really trying to kill us with anger. From now on, you're not allowed in the lab anymore. So you won't embarrass us further. Don't even think about inheriting your mother's and Y company in the future. Everything will go to your sister. You'll only get a monthly allowance of 100.000 yuan. If it's not enough, go find a job and earn your own money." This completely crushed Y brother's hopes. He wailed loudly, cursing our parents for being biased and calling me a venomous woman. This angered my father again, who kicked him several feet away. And only then did he quiet down. He really brought it upon himself, asking for trouble. My brother was confined to bed and his phone was confiscated. Xiao Xingchen's experiment was also forced to stop. But that wasn't the worst part. The real issue was that she had grown accustomed to spending my brother's money lavishly these past few days. Now with no money in hand, even eating has become a problem for her, so she had no choice but to take the initiative to find Lu Ting again. She truly has both the means and the foresight. Although she had previously confirmed a romantic relationship with her younger brother, she always publicly referred to him as a good friend and pursuer. So now, she easily became close with Lu Ting again. Although he isn't as extravagant as her younger brother, he is still a rich second-generation heir and is quite generous. Moreover, to provoke me, he'd deliberately put his arm around Xiao Xingchen and swaggered in front of me to upset me. "Xinzi, thank you for breaking up with me, allowing me to find the one true love of my life. No wonder you've always targeted Xingchen. Not only is she outstanding, but she's also exceptionally gentle and provides ample emotional support. You're just lucky to have been born into a good family. No man would like a woman as domineering, overbearing, and malicious as you. You deserve to be a widow for the rest of your life." I let out a scoff. "Well, thanks for the auspicious words. I agree. No man is good enough for me. Rich, powerful, handsome, and with 5 SCI papers to his name. Only useless men call women domineering and overbearing. After all, how can their fragile egos handle not being able to control them?" Liu Ting's face turned pale, and he said angrily, "Xinzi, how have you become like this? You're so aggressive. You don't look like a woman at all. This is exactly why I won't like you." I was successfully disgusted by him, but he wouldn't get off easy. Either I took out my phone and snapped a picture of their interlocked fingers, then sent to Uncle Lu 11. Soon, Lu Ting also disappeared from the campus, got beaten up badly again. Still better than. Of course, I received his text messages cursing me, calling me vicious childish, and a tattletale. So, I immediately took a screenshot and forwarded it to Uncle Lu. and he got out another round of family discipline. Only then did he finally settle down. What a fool who deserves to be taught a lesson. Xia Xianchen is having a hard time and has started selling her designer bags to cover living expenses. She's a typical pick-me girl. 2-face.so. She's offended many female classmates and is now being mocked and ridiculed by them. A girl in her dorm who is a fan of mine proactively told me that she's been acting very strangely these past few days, going out during the day and coming back at night with many scars on her body. And she's been reading materials and news about bullying. It seems they're trying to frame me for bullying, but unfortunately for them, ever since I was reborn, I've hired 3 private detectives to monitor her in shifts around the clock. I've been too busy these past few days to look at the photos and videos they sent. Looks like I'll have to work overtime to sort through them. Then I'll make sure they're utterly disgraced. In the blink of an eye, graduation day arrived. The academic gown I never wear in my previous life. This time I finally put it on, seeing Lu Ting, my younger brother, and Xiao XNXN in the audience after such a long time. I couldn't help but smile. All of them came as my graduation gift to myself. That's pretty impressive. When diplomas were being awarded, Xiao XNXN and the others sat still because none of them had received their diplomas and were required to defer graduation. I was publicly praised by the dean and selected as the outstanding graduate representative. Yet, they didn't make a move. It wasn't until I went on stage to speak as the outstanding graduate representative that the 3 of them finally stirred. My younger brother and Lu Ting suddenly stood up and unfurled a banner. Xin Ji. Bullies on campus. Get out of school. Xiao XAN stood between them, looking haggard and accused with a mix of grievance and anger. Senior, Sister Ji, you are not qualified to stand here as an outstanding graduate and speak, because you are a bully. You are trash and scum. As she spoke, she unbuttoned her white shirt, revealing shocking whip marks in alternating shades of blue and white. Instantly, a wave of gasps echoed through the auditorium. She was quite satisfied with this reaction, a glint of calculation flashing briefly in her eyes. Yet, her face still wore an expression of grief and indignation. My name is Xiao Xen. I should have been a graduate this year, but because I displeased her, she prevented me from graduating. Relying on her seniority and the professor's favor, she has been bullying me for a long time. These wounds on my body are from her whipping me. I'm from the countryside, with no background or backing. When faced with grievances and injustice, I could only endure. I thought I could escape her clutches after graduation, but the result I got was a delayed graduation. These past 2 years of my suffering have been like a joke. Shinji, you are a wealthy second-generation heiress. So, in your eyes, are those of us who are not as good as you meant to be toyed with and humiliated at will but we are human beings. 2. His voice was hoarse from shouting, and his plea was highly compelling. Many people looked at me with indignation in their eyes. At that moment, my younger brother also tore open his shirt, revealing the bruised and purplish scars left by beatings. I am her biological brother, and I can testify that everything Shinshin said is true. I was beaten by her since I was a child. She has a violent tendency. Sister, you repeatedly promised me before that you would never raise your hand again. But why.do you always break your word and deceive me time and again. You are my biological sister, and I really don't want to see you continue to make mistakes. As long as you are willing to turn back, I believe Shin will definitely forgive you. Immediately after, Lu Ting also spoke up. I can also testify that what they said is true because I was also a victim of her bullying. I am her ex-boyfriend, and I almost died at her hands. As he spoke, he also tore open his outer garment, revealing a dense pattern of whip marks on his back. Shinji, I admit your academic achievements are already very high, but that your character is truly not commendable. Everyone, don't have a filter for her because academics do not equal character. You've all been deceived by her 12. Their striptease act directly set the entire venue ablaze. Many people took out their phones to film them while others pointed fingers and hurled insults at me. One could imagine that tomorrow news outlets and papers across the internet would be publishing reports on this major campus bullying incident. No matter how successful my experiments were, or how much the professor valued me, it would all be for nothing. I would be nailed to the pillar of shame, never rise again. But unfortunately, I have evidence of their counterattack with a snap of her fingers. The senior who was showing the slides immediately started playing the video that had been prepared in advance ashing Shinshin, with her face covered by a mask, knelt on the ground receiving the whip strokes from the masked Lu Ting. At the same time, Lu Ting's harsh words were heard. This lowly woman, Shinji, has caused me to be unable to inherit the company. So she can expect to have a better fate either. Jeshing Xingxing said it. Maliciously, I have already made an agreement with Xinjian. We will jointly slander her at the graduation ceremony in 2 days and make her lose her reputation. Lu Ting frowned and asked doubtfully, Shenzhen is her own younger brother. Would he really join us? In framing her Jashing Xingxing sneered coldly, Xinjian is just a fool. He will do whatever I say. The point 3 of us causing trouble together will definitely be more convincing. I even got sulfuric acid. When he gets emotional, I'll splash it right on Shenji's face, making her a hideous monster for the rest of her life. Let's see who would still want her then. After saying that, the two of them embraced and kissed. The scene here quickly cut off the video. What came next was definitely not suitable for minors and was illegal. Jashing Xingxing was the first to react, shouting loudly that it's fake. It's all fake. Don't believe her. She deliberately photoshopped this to slander me and Lu Ting. I'll report her for defamation. Shinji, you're definitely going to jail. I curled my lips into a cold smile. Can videos be faked? What about voices? Then, turning to my still dumbfounded brother, I added, Brother, you and Lu Ting really are great friends. Sharing a girlfriend between the two of you. It just feels like Jiaxing Xingxing prefers Lu Ting a bit more, even though you lost your heir status for her and spent over 10 million. This is the result you got, but as long as you're happy. At that moment, the younger brother realized he had been cuckolded. Already impulsive, he saw the dagger on the nearby table lunged in front of Lu Ting and stabbed him straight in the chest. His eyes bloodshot. He roared madly I treated you like my own brother, and you cuckolded me. Are you even human? Lu Ting didn't even have time to react. Blood gushed out instantly. The people nearby screamed in terror. Consumed by rage, the younger brother fought with astonishing ferocity. Not only did he stab Lu Ting 0.7 or 8 times and escape unscathed, he also opened the cup Xiao XNXN had prepared for him, splashing the sulfuric acid inside. All over her she screamed in immediate horror. But at the next second, her pain screams rang out. I gave you my all. I would pluck the stars from the sky for you. And this is how you treat me. You dare to cheat on me. You all deserve to die. 13. My frenzied younger brother, acting like a wild beast, was eventually taken away by the police. Meanwhile, Lu Ting and Xiao XNXN were rushed into the hospital for emergency treatment. After the Police finished investigating and collecting evidence on the dagger used as the murder weapon. They returned T.O. my senior, who then gave it back to me. She apologized with a guilty expression, saying, Senior Z, I'm so sorry for getting the dagger you left with me, dirty. How about I buy you a new one? I twirled the dagger in my hand and smiled that it's okay. I'm the one who should apologize. My brother suddenly went berserk and scared you all. Didn't he? I apologize on his behalf. The classmates naturally shook their heads in response, saying it was fine, but I was very generous, treating everyone to a meal and even ordering a cake. Today was certainly a day worth celebrating. Lou, Ting had good luck. He was only resuscitate in the emergency room for most of the day before he died. He hadn't even started his revenge yet, and he was already dead. What a buzzkill. My younger brother wasn't so lucky, although it was a crime of passion. The circumstances were too heinous, and he was sentenced to 15 years in prison. That's a long time. More than enough time for me to arrange for many people to go in and give him a proper care. Let him spend the rest of his life in repentance and regret. As for Chao Xing-chin, I directly contacted her parents in the countryside, who favored sons over daughters, and brought her back after her face had been disfigured. Her disfigurement wasn't minor. It was extensive. If you got close, you could smell the foul odor coming from her body. Actually, if she had spent a bit more money, she could have had plastic surgery to look like an ordinary person. But her parents were naturally reluctant to spend the money, even calling her a money-losing burden. They had spent so much on her education, yet she ended up without a diploma, her reputation ruined, and completely unable to find a good match. Tio fetch a bride price. In the end, she was sold for 88.000 yuan to a violent over 50-year-old bachelor next door to be his wife. Less than half a month later, she was beaten to death by the drunken old bachelor in the pigsty. How tragic and yet deserved. End of the full text.